Okay, Councilmember Beacom.
I've been listening to all the different conversations related to studies and facts and assumed facts. And what I heard was there's a group of us here that say it's safe. There's a group of us here that say it'll never be safe. And the question comes down to, in the Rocky Flats area, the former central operating unit in that area, I agree, is probably not a safe place to do hardly anything, and should be maybe even a whole lot of money be spent on even doing more stuff to protect that area, and the breaching of some of the retention pond dams, et cetera, should be stopped also. However, under the unsafe side of what is east of Rocky Flats, what I heard from some of the speakers is, well, maybe we need to remove a whole lot of property that exists to the east and to the southeast of Rocky Flats, because they're already in an unsafe location, and we need to move the people out of there based on what I've heard tonight. So it's the question is what facts are really valid here tonight for what is safe and what is not safe? I don't have the answer to that. My background is not science. But I also heard that the attorney that's trying to get the transcript of the earlier grand jury raised a point of barrels maybe being found along the roadway because at one time this was part of Rocky Flats. My understanding of it from a military point of view, the border around the majority of Rocky Flats was a security border to keep people away from what was going on out there and for that type of purpose. And most people that would be working in that enclosure wouldn't be burying things on the edge because people can see them do that. So they do it in the middle or in places where they think they can get away with it. But if you've got a barrel of nuclear waste and it's buried 8 feet underground, it still emits radiation. So my question is, why can't you detect that radiation because it's a concentration, or did they put lead around the whole thing? And that was yes, I would appreciate it very much. No, that's fine. Counselor.
Sort of ties into Councilmember Groom's question. Plutonium doesn't exist in nature. It's a man-made substance. The background that we measure against is a background that was created by nuclear explosions and nuclear testing. So the testing that happened in Nevada, the original testing in New Mexico, the testing and the bombs that were dropped in Japan all dispersed plutonium residue into the atmosphere, and that eventually falls out of the atmosphere onto the ground. And that's the background that everyone talks about comparing to. So this is not something that just miraculously springs up as a natural thing. When I talk about a barrel that's buried, I agree with you that we hope people would be strategic about that and that you wouldn't bury it close to a fence where someone could come and take it. But if you think about what that area looked like back in the 50s and the 60s, it was pretty much farmland way out in the boonies. So there weren't people just sort of running around, driving up and down Indiana. And to the degree that things were buried, that's what led us. We've submitted reports, some of them, the subpoenas that were given to the grand jury and other materials. I have the Cook files and all of the discovery that they went through, and it's information that we haven't submitted to the court yet because it's not appropriate. We do have evidence of burials off-site, or not off-site, but off book, basically. And so my point is not that I know there's a barrel buried 5 feet under the Indiana, because I agree with you that they wouldn't bury something under Indiana, but that right-of-way is 300 feet, starting on the inside of Indiana, 300 feet into the east side of Rocky Flats, and it travels the entire east corridor. And so what was buried where, part of the issue, we've heard a lot of anecdotal reports from workers about a room that had a map, because you got to kind of keep track of where you bury things, because otherwise you might bury something close by. But those are the kind of documents we are trying to get. There was an effort made to provide access to those documents that show where things were buried. I have boxes of discovery from Cook that talks about where things were buried. There was an effort made by the Attorney General of the state of Colorado to provide access to that information to the people who were organizing the cleanup, because that's part of what was used to determine the locations to clean up. They declined. They never saw it. And that's my concern, is that the information that goes to a grand jury, and we aren't asking for transcripts, just to clarify the record. We are asking for the business records created by Dow and Rockwell that were submitted to the grand jury, which are not part of the grand jury automatic seal in every grand jury, that talks about the operations and the disposal of waste. And to the degree that anyone wants to see that information, I can ship you many, many, many bytes of electronic data to see that. So it's an alpha emitter. It's not a gamma emitter. You can't take a Geiger counter and find it. That it doesn't come up. The soil testing, so when you take a soil test, you're taking a plug 2 inches down, and you're taking that plug away. And you're taking it to a lab, and you're analyzing what's in that plug of soil. How that would capture radiation emitted from 8 feet below it is way beyond my scientific knowledge. But my sense is that it is not a simple task. So,
following up on that, there were another 7 or 8 radioactive items that were used or available on Rocky Flats. The chart showed more than just plutonium-239.
oh, there's a it's
and
a
some
shorthand.
of those are what I think you call gamma emitters.
That's beyond my scientific knowledge as well. But we're looking at things like beryllium, americium. There's great studies. In fact, before the Fish and Wildlife Service took over control of that, they did a study that showed, I want to say 17 different contaminants. They took samples. And so we use plutonium as sort of a shorthand for bad stuff that was left there. But it's not just plutonium. And it's uranium and americium and tritium and strontium and all of those things.
Right, and a lot of those the Parkway is testing for, and I think the trail system was testing for also. And because the chart we had from that was provided by the testing done for Jefferson Parkway every third acre or whatever it was, listed 7 or 8 items.
Okay.
And if those are part of the contaminants that are out there, and some of those are gamma emitters, why aren't they able to find that without having to dig for it?
That I don't know. I'm sorry, it's beyond my technical